So on my TikTok feed, when I was doing my research on TikTok, you come across like so I'm researching Coptic Christians and Coptic answers, etc. And as a Muslim, I don't know how, but all of a sudden these debates show up where you have Muslims going up against Christians, and then with a very theological lens, like your scripture says this or your scripture says that, you're bad because of this, you're bad because of that. And like going to the Coptic church, talking to the priests, it completely revolutionized the way I think about this because with a theocentric mind, I was back before I was all about, yeah, that's right and that's wrong. And that's kind of what we
Hmm.
grow up with because theology is huge. But then when I came in and I realized I was talking to the priest and I said, well, isn't it true that you guys worship three gods? And he said, that's blasphemy. We worship one God. Have you read the creed? We worship one God. And he says, we worship one God. And he kept on talking about we worship one God. And that's what threw me off because I grew up learning that Christians worship three gods. When the Christians themselves, the priest himself, and all the congregants, they're all saying we worship one God. And then I realized this is a theocentric approach versus an anthropological approach, where theologically
Hmm.
speaking, with a theological mindset, I'm going to be like they worship three gods because of some sort of mathematical equation I've done in my own head. But when you talk to the people themselves, they're like, no, we don't worship three gods. We worship one God. So what their understanding is for themselves is it transcends any sort of debate that can take place. If a Muslim's going to come out and try to convince a Christian that they worship three gods, I think that's dumb. No,
Yeah.
no. If they say they worship one God, they worship one God in whatever capacity. Because at the end of the day, I can pull out all kinds of. I mean, you want to play the theology game with me? I'm a theologian, and I can
Hmm.
spin anyone around my finger when it comes to that theology. You want to talk about the belief of transcendence of humans with God, etc. I can find so many flaws and so many holes in your own narrative. So
Hmm.
don't play that game. Take people for who they are, and that's the one way that you can bridge or embrace one another, and be like, you know
Yeah.
what, I accept you for who you are, and you accept me for who I am. Because then again, in the relations that I see in old Islam, where Prophet Muhammad married a Coptic, or he had dealings with the Najashi, he wasn't sitting there being like, how many gods do you deal with, and hated them because of that. Like I see a huge difference as to what happened. Then again, what happened is also monopolized through the historians, but trying to make sense of that versus what's actually portrayed. And I'm like, we've gone so far away from the source. It's unfortunate.
Hmm. All right. Well, let's not delve into that right now because that's going to be another hour of conversation.
Oh,
So
of course.
let's move on to the next question.